Sit Your Podcast Down. And gentlemen, Weeks in the building.
Yes.
G's in the building.
Yeah.
Clyde's in the building. I just can't wait when we get on and we get our big investment, when we on the big platforms, we can point back to all our videos that nobody wanted to fucking watch and be like, we've been right for a long fucking time. Okay, so like, what is it? In basketball, if you shoot 50%, that's solid. That's like really good. If you shooting 60%, you the greatest of all time. Shit, right? So if we shooting like 95% from the field as a podcast, what does that make us? Like, if we that right, that consistently, I mean, I think we deserve to be up there with the best podcast of all time. I think it's just clearly we calling this shit. I think we've all said at one point, Steve Nash can't coach. He can't coach. He got the job because of his boy, who's also can't do his job very well.
Yeah. Well, we getting into that because
and well, here we are. He's been fired. And the man who does his job very well, Mr. Udoka, will be taking over for him, apparently. I mean,
turn of events.
It's just
get
like,
to go back home. Nia Long's from New York. He was an assistant coach with the Nets. Under Nash, what makes Nash even worse, you lost a year. You got swept by your assistant.
Got swept by your assistant, yeah. Bad. Real bad. We told you so, right? That's an order. That's an order. We told you so.
When haven't we told you so?
We tell you, like,
I can't think of a time.
Like, y'all, you know, I don't want to come with the fans. I don't even read the comments really, but I know y'all be hating and think we just crazy and just saying, "Oh, y'all cat, y'all hating." Like, no, like we know what we're talking about. It's most of it is common sense.
A lot of it is. Once you get past the fandom and all the other shit, it's just like, what do results show you? What's real? And Brooklyn finally understood what we've known for a while, that man can't coach. Sorry.
Yeah, like he didn't care about defense. His offense was pass the ball to KD or Kyrie and ISO or pick and roll. There was no movement, no imagination to the offense whatsoever to help them get better looks. At all. And it's like they keep blowing leads. He's not really real. I remember Maul from Roy Maul tweeted, like he was at a Nets game, like sitting behind the bench. And he tweeted something like, yo, like I literally could have told the team what Nash just told him after a timeout. Like, he's not telling them anything.
It makes you wonder, what is it? What's the disconnect between, clearly Nash is a great player, right? I won't say that away from him. He's a great player. What's so hard about it? I'm gonna defer to obviously you, because you already coach currently. Yeah. What's the disconnect between playing and then trying to coach? I mean, that's a very broad question, but for somebody who's as great as he is, what do you think the disconnect is with seeing how poorly they play? Like, especially if it's just common sense stuff and some of coaching. Like, what do you think it is as a coach looking out from the outside in?
Because it's not just X's and O's. Coaching comes with, like, you got to have a lot of respect. You got to earn their respect. Not saying they didn't respect Nash, but it was still like, you get the feeling like the players felt like, okay, you don't really know what you're talking about. Because when you watch the games, it's like he doesn't really make it. Like, he was terrible at making adjustments. And some coaches are better at making in-game adjustments than others. But he didn't make adjustments from game to game. Like, it just looked like, when you look at the playoffs, every game looked the same. Like, you didn't feel like any game was different from the other ones. Like, oh, he made this adjustment and they changed this, so Udoka had to change this. Like, Udoka looked like he came with the same game plan 4 games in a row because Nash didn't change anything. And then the other thing about coaching, especially on that level, is how well you can manage players. So you could tell, like, he really wasn't good at managing the team like that. So you got 2 mega stars who are both quirky,
to say the least.
And you really didn't know how to handle them or put them. And the other thing is they both won championships before.
He got 3
Nash
like
is-
first.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, 3. Yeah, Harden 2. Harden never won anything. Nash never won anything. KD and Kyrie do. So they have a better understanding of knowing what it takes, and they know what championship teams look like, and they know what championship offenses look like, and what championship coaching looks like. And when they figured out he doesn't have that, I think they kind of lost respect for him, or they stopped listening or responding, or just like, whatever with him. Like you just tell. Like even when he was in the playoffs, like I won't forget. In ball, this is when I say he should have been fired. This is where we go on our 95%. Even though we say he should have been fired before the playoffs. But when they asked him about, what are your concerns? He was talking about rebounding. And the reporters asked, are you gonna make any adjustments? You go with a bigger lineup? No, I'm worried about the spacing. You have Claxton out there. You talk about you worried about spacing. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you obviously getting destroyed in the paint. You need to play big. You have Aldridge, you have Blake Griffin, you have Drummond, you have bigger dudes that can play, that can help you on the boards, and you just refuse to play them. So you don't think like players realize like, yo, like, what is wrong with you? Because that's common sense. Al Horford and Robert Williams are killing us. We need bigger bodies in here. KD is like, yo, I'm not trying to fight with Al Horford all night.
At all.
Right. Like, Claxton, you too skinny for Robert Williams. Like, what do you like? Get some bodies in there. But it's like, it's stuff like that, that I think players saw, and it was like, okay, we can't really mess with this guy. And it ain't like they're young kids. It ain't like they 19, 20. Like, these dudes actually know basketball. When you get to that level and you're dealing with veterans, you basically just putting in game plans and strategies. You don't really have to teach them as much.
Right.
So, Nash, you could tell just like he just wasn't ready for the job. He should have never got the job. Like, he had no experience for that team.
Said that too.
Right. For that team,
ready for a championship.
Ready for a championship team. No, it was like Sean Marks tried to do the homeboy hookup. Like, oh, this is a no-brainer win team. You ain't gonna have to do much. You're gonna get you a championship. You're gonna look like a genius. Because you won with the first year. You're like, oh, Nash is a great coach. Same thing that Kerr kind of got. Even though Kerr is a better coach, but Kerr kind of got the same type of deal. Like, people think he's a better coach than he is.
To a great ready-made situation.
Right, was ready-made situation. Even Steve Kerr admitted he learned a lot more about coaching when they were bad. When Steph got hurt, Clay got hurt, KD was gone. Those couple bad seasons, he said himself, I learned more about coaching those 2 seasons. Yeah, because you didn't have to do much. When you got Steph, Clay, Draymond, KD, Iguodala, like all them dudes know how to play. Just give them a game plan. It's easy. Just give them a game plan. They'll follow it. They already had a culture. They established culture from Mark Jackson. They know how to play defense. They play together on offense. They know each other. It's not that hard. But Sean Marks tried to give Nash the hookup, and it failed miserably. Sean Marks needed to be accountable for a lot of stuff too, because for one, you gave the players too much power.
You think so? I want to ask you about that because you mentioned the players. Do you think they had a stronger culture? I don't want to say they wouldn't be as controversial with their statements on the court. We know obviously Kyrie is saying things and KD is trying to fight people on Twitter and shit. Like, and by the way, side note with Kyrie, I know I'm harsh on Kyrie sometimes. I don't believe he deserves. Overall, I don't believe he deserves the criticism he gets for the things that he says. But I do think this. He does what many dumb people do, unfortunately. When you call them out on something or you make light of something that they've mentioned, stood next to, or agreed with, he can't give you a coherent answer and response. Even if he just said, no, I don't want to talk about that right now. I'm going to keep it to basketball. That's a coherent response. Kyrie's responses are always, well, how am I promoting? And what do you mean? And you have a platform. What do you do? It's so much. You can just say, you know what? I think that's being kind of blown out of proportion. but I'd rather not talk about it. Let's move on to basketball. People will, if you say that calmly and stand in that, even though it's completely a deflection and it's kind of bullshit, you can't argue with that. My problem with him is always that because it detracts from the game, detracts from actual basketball talk. Because now, when you are in an interview and this comes up, now you can go off even further and do more shit. And I feel like that's kind of my issue. So I don't know what y'all thoughts are on that, but I mean, to me, that's where he loses it. That's where he loses the legitimacy of what his argument may be. Because it's like you can just not talk about it. Or have an answer ready. Like we talked about who was it? Jonathan Isaac with the whole vaccination shit. And he was just like, I believe in my body and health and God's gonna. That's not an answer, dude. It's not an answer. You just said some nonsense that doesn't make sense. If you don't want to talk about it, then just say, I don't want to talk about it right now. Let's move on to basketball. Right. You are there to talk about basketball. That's fine. So again, long answer. But my whole thought was, do you think if Nash had a stronger hold in that team, we'd see more polish from them in terms of those interviews? Or do you think that's just Kyrie being Kyrie?
Because I think, Go ahead, G.
No, I mean, I'm probably going to say something similar, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it feels like the players are operating as their own leader rather than a cohesive leadership under one coach. So it's like, well, Kyrie's over here saging up the stadium and doing all this other stuff, taking time off for himself. KD, he over here tweeting everything. KD, it just doesn't seem like they're a unit. It seemed like maybe Kyrie and KD might be on the same page, but I can't imagine anybody else is on the same page as them.
Because Nash gets a lot of that because it's like the offense is only for those two. It's like it doesn't feel like everybody plays together. And the crazy thing is when you hear KD and Kyrie, when they talk about basketball and how they want to play more team ball. Like they want everybody involved. They're not notoriously known for being ball hogs. They're super efficient players. So that means they don't take bad shots. And they want to play a more fluid ball movement, everybody together type of style.
Like the Warriors.
That's why KD went to the Warriors. Everybody can blame Westbrook. But when you actually do your research and realize why he was talked into Golden State, Jerry West told him, like, look, you're taking a lot of difficult shots. You're doing a lot on one-on-one. If you come here, you won't have to do that. It's going to be a lot more ball movement. You're going to get easier shots. It's going to be less taxing on you. It was an easy sell. So they want to come in and do the same thing. But I think that if Nash had a stronger hold or they had more respect, this is also why I think more black coaches need to be hired. Or you don't get rid of Amari Stoudemire, who ironically is Jewish. You would have somebody that can talk him through things. Because like Amari was on ESPN today. He gave a good explanation. He said Kyrie is in a state where feels like he's trying to find himself. So he's doing he's trying to learn a lot of things. He said, but Kyrie doesn't do a good enough job of doing his research and look up multiple sources before he just says something.
That is exactly it. He's like, that's why I like the comparison to him and Kanye. It's the same shit. You take one source, that's the truth, that's the gospel.
My only problem with that though, Kyrie said that about himself though, in like 3 interviews. He said it back to back to back. He did a whole media run where he said, I'm finding myself. I don't know the answers. I'm just doing things.
Right. He did say that.
But that doesn't but you still, it doesn't shield you from the critique of just doing things. If I'm only doing something, I smack the shit out of somebody. I can be like, I'm still finding my way, but you still smack the shit out of somebody. You got to still answer for that, right or wrong. Intention being ill or not, you got to answer for that shit. I think the thing with Kyrie is that he does shit like that and then be like, well, I wasn't my intention to be hurtful, so don't talk about it. That's not how that works.
Because even Amari, Jay Williams, dudes like that, they understand. It's like, they don't think Kyrie is trying to be mean-spirited or anything like that.
Right, I agree with that.
But it's just like you just not doing thorough enough research, or another problem is like you're not really saying, like, you could have said at your press conference, like, I don't agree with everything that's in the doc. Like if you said that, then everybody's not going to they just going to assume like, oh well, because you posted, you agree with everything in here. It's like all you gotta do is say like, I don't.
He could even said it at that moment because he said, "I don't stand with Alex Jones. I don't stand with anything that was not
right."
He went into that. I'm like, you could have just simply said there were some points that I agreed with, and so I posted it based off of that. There are other thoughts that I don't agree with, and now we don't have to go do a line by line, but that's the answer. And I think you guys are right. There is leadership. You'll know. Okay, listen, be yourself, but realistically, we are a shitty basketball team. We don't need more bullshit. We are in the media caveat of the league. We need to be on the page for the right things, not bullshit, not this nonsense. Not we can't win a game. Not we can't win a game, and you're saying anti-Semitic shit. We don't need that right now, right?
Right.
I feel like somebody needs to tell you shit out like that's not whether you meant it or didn't mean it. If it's construed that way, it's gonna run with that way. We gotta do better. Like we just gotta be better with this shit.
Yeah. So
I don't know, man. We said this before, but I don't understand why people don't realize that, yo, these are just Hotep talking points that have been around forever.
Here's why. This is why. We live in a different world than they do. This is why it's when Kanye says something that he says, or when Kyrie says something, like guys like Brother Reasons and Umar, they get on like Breakfast Club. We think that's everybody sees that. No, the reason that Biden comes there is because he knows that we there, but they don't get on CNN. They don't get that kind of platform. So with guys like Kyrie, the platform has never been bigger. So when he bring up things that have been talked about let's say talk about something 20 years ago. So the rest of America, this is crazy. Who said this? Who thinks this? We've been hearing that in the hub for a long time. But that's the distinction. You're not in the same circles consistently enough. I think that's the difference. When somebody like Kyrie says this, like, oh, well, this is wild.
And you know what else is kind of wild to me for the Nets? So Amari was on the staff last year. Mm-hmm. If you do the research on why he was fired, a lot of it had to do with his Jewish beliefs.
Interesting.
Which is very ironic to me that y'all getting on Kyrie, and that's probably part of the reason why they didn't suspend him. Because somebody get to start digging, somebody like me, who remembers, like, oh, you wanted to fire Amari because he doesn't work on the Sabbath. And that was part of the reason why he got rid of Amari. He's very religious. Anything Jewish holiday, whatever, he's not working. He's going to honor Saturdays, like all that stuff. So somebody get to digging and realize, okay, well, you want to do this for Kyrie because you're anti-Semitic and you're going to fire Amari? The organization looks anti-Semitic to me.
I don't think anybody even knows about that, though.
They don't. But that's the thing.
You pulling from the graveyard on this one.
But I think that's a good point. No one knows things.
Right.
Talking about stuff getting buried. Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is like it's public knowledge. Like when they talked about, because remember over the summer, they didn't fire Nash, but it's like we're going to get rid of his staff.
That's the next step is get rid of him.
Right. So they started. So when you start looking at who he got rid of and why they got rid of him, like it's public record. You could look it up. Like so, a lot of Amari being fired was because of his schedule due to his Jewish beliefs.
Yeah, interesting. Well, that's something I did not know.
So
they want to keep that especially in Brooklyn, they want to keep that very quiet.
Right.
Very quiet.
So it's interesting, but I can see why they didn't suspend Kyrie because if that's the case, you got to suspend. Are you going to suspend Jaylen Brown? Jaylen Brown posted a picture of him and Udoka with no explanation, comment, anything except the headline that said Udoka's going to be the next coach or something like that. Does that mean he agrees or agrees with everything that he agrees with that hiring?
What it sounds like is that he wanted to get traded for Ben Simmons. That's what it sounds. That's what it sounds. That's what it sounds like.
Right, because that's the thing. Like I look at it like Kyrie just posted a picture of the documentary But everybody just assumed, like, well, you believe everything in there. Like, he didn't say anything. He just posted the picture.
He didn't say it, but I mean, they're gonna
Why else do you share?
with him. They're gonna be devil's advocate. They just are.
Yeah, they are. Because
and he should know that by now. Like, this should not. As much as I've been critical of Kyrie, guy, this should not surprise you. They're gonna take whatever you say and say you the Antichrist. This should not surprise you at this point.
Because like Kyrie, like that's what you gotta learn. Like Kyrie, you're not you've done more good than bad, but they're gonna make it seem like you're an evil person.
Even I don't know if you saw this. Even when they said that people that got fired because they refused to get vaccinated, they're getting back pay now and all of that. You were the first talking about that. That's not right to get fired from your job. You're the first on that. And while I think at the time you should have probably gotten vaccinated, that was my belief. I understand not firing somebody for not believing that way.
Right.
That's fine. You were right about that. But then with all the other kind of snafus you have publicly, no one remembers the things that you're right about. What do they remember?
Or the things you do. Right.
What do they remember?
Right. That's what they go with. They're not going to remember, oh, well, when the WNBA players didn't want to go to the bubble, that you paid all their salaries. They're not going to remember that.
No one, they'll remember you arguing with a guy on the interview scrum. They're going to remember that. They're going to remember Herbs is flat. They remember you saying, they remember you walking around with Sage. That's what they remember. You have to know that you will be remembered for those things off the court. On the court, you're a killer. On the court, you're a Sage-smelling weirdo who's anti-vax. Sorry, that's who you are.
And anti-Semitic. That's what they're going to go with.
That's who they look at you as. So any little ammo you give them, they will use. Don't be surprised. This is media. If you blow up on them, it's good for them. It's good for TV. Right. It's good for their coverage. Right. It's good. They don't care.
And Kyrie knows that because when he came at Stephen A. over the summer, he said, "I make y'all company millions of dollars."
So you continue to do it,
right? And you keep adding fuel because they can't wait for you to say something crazy. They've been talking about this for like 3 days.
They have.
And it's like, why does it feel like it's bigger today than when he first said it?
It's a story. Right. And it's a machine. ESPN's a machine. Everybody's gonna talk about it. Every show is gonna be talking about it. It is a machine. You start going with that shit. Oh, cool. We're talking about this forever now.
All right. There's only a few people that's like say like Jay Williams, like why is anybody coming at Amazon? Like it's on their platform. Like Kyrie said in the press conference, it's free. Like you go look it up.
The last that I'll give to you guys on this is if Udoka is the next coach, does that change where the season's going to go for the Nets? Do you foresee them having a legit championship shot, or do you think that ship is sailed regardless?
I think it'll change the culture. I
agree with that.
I think that they'll play more defense.
They'll play an actual big when they need a big. Yeah.
Play an actual big if they can get one. Because Dwight Howard said the other day, like he was talking to the Nets, he was like, we want a big man that can shoot. And you start Claxton. Like, what the fuck? Like, what am I missing here? You keep saying I want bigs that can shoot. You don't have any bigs that can shoot.
I don't even know why they want that. You have two of the best scorers in the NBA. Just get somebody that can set a screen for them and catch a lob.
They're playing 2K 5-out offense and they need a shooting center. That's why.
Right. But it's like, but you don't play. You talk about spacing and you want shooting and you start Claxton and Ben Simmons, who won't shoot.
By the way, my last on this is I think they will have a better culture. I think that team, whatever it is, I think the Nets will be dysfunctional until they go back to New Jersey. I think Brooklyn's too much for them. I think they have to just give it up and go back to New Jersey. They were better there. They were a better run there. Just go back to New Jersey where you're loved. You'll be better off. I also want to say right now, I think Ben Simmons is broken. I think he's broken. I don't know. I don't know if he will ever get better, but he looks mentally broken, and I feel bad, kind of, a little bit.
To watch him catch the ball and pass it directly back to KD, who's also standing right next to him, without making a basketball move, as somebody who is considered an all-star, wasn't he like the rookie of the year or something?
Yeah, shouldn't have been. He was in the league already.
An all-star rookie of the year. Catches the ball, doesn't attempt to even look at the basket, gets the pass from KD and passes it right back to KD, standing 2 shoes away from each other. Like, he just gets to the game, sets picks, and like runs back on offense.
And get
He's
6
back on
fouls.
defense.
And get 6 fouls. That's important to know.
Then it's just he's such a mentally.
He is broken. He needs a therapist. He needs counseling. He is broken. It's weird to watch him play basketball. He's a 6'10" waste of space. It just makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't get it with Ben. It's like, dude, but maybe Udoka can help Ben because I felt like Nash was more of an enabler. Because Nash was like training camp. He's like, well, Ben doesn't have to shoot if he doesn't want to. Yes, you do.
Right.
Yes, you do. That you're the third player. You're the third best player.
You have to phrase that as, and this is how the best coaches the best coaches can motivate through the media in a way that's hidden for that player. Ben's a big part of what we do here. We're going to need him to be aggressive and to contribute as best he can for this team, especially in transition. That's code for you better attack the goddamn basket. You better push in transition. We need you to be the third scorer. Period. They don't win without you being the third scorer. You don't have to be like, you better shoot or he a bitch. But you can at least say, yo, you got to do something. And just say, we expect it of him. We know he can do it. We look forward to him doing it. Say that to the media.
Right.
You can't be like, you don't got to do it if you don't want to. What?
Right. Like we've seen it with two things that been saying. We've seen the enabling, coddling coaching. And then we also seen like Doc Rivers like, well, dude, like, I don't know if he's a championship point guard. And they actually jumped on Doc. Like, it's a reasonable question. Like, dude, you won't shoot a layup.
How about we haven't been close to a championship yet? So we don't know if it be championship center. We ain't been there yet. We can't say we don't know if anybody is, damn it. You know what we know is I'm a championship coach. That's all we know. Right. Rest of y'all question marks because I ain't done it yet. Seriously.
Hey, the Nets need to trade for Bruce Brown back, man.
Oh, you mean the power forward that Nash that's playing back? That's currently being a backup point guard for the Denver Nuggets.
No, we're done.
It was a power forward for Nash.
Listen. It's tough out here in the East, man. You got to go back to playing the four, man. You got to go back to playing.
Actually, like, think about how crazy that is. Like,
yo, they need spacing. Bruce Brown at center, man. Sit Claxton now. You need spacing. Right. I got you.
Like, Bruce, you go set the screen for KD and roll.
He's 6'4". He's 6'4", more productive than Ben Simmons.
KD can see clear over the top of his head. He gonna stand in that guy's shoes.
Right. You sitting there doing? Telling Bruce Bowen, it's like just put this chair in somebody's way. That's what it is. Like, it's like
go trip him real quick so he can't get around you. Just hit him in the ankle, man. Just get in the way. Make him stumble a little bit. KD don't need much. KD a little bit of space. Just a little bit of space. He'll be great. He's
like, come on, man. Like that's how crazy that you look at Nash. That's like, look at Nash coaching, man. Like, that's bad. Bruce Bowen is the backup point guard, backup shooting guard. And with the Nets, he's a 6'4" big. And he's wondering why they're getting killed on the rebounds.
We call that part of his coaching out as well.
Right. Forget the fact that you got Kyrie, Seth Curry, Patty Mills, KD, and Bruce Brown up there for a lineup talking about you not getting rebounds.
The average height is like 6'3", 6'4".
Right.
What are you talking about?
And no defense. Man, we can't get stops. I wonder why. Not only are they small, they don't play defense anyway.
No, not even scrappy. Not even like a Pat Bev, like scrappy bunch. It's just like defense. Nah, we don't really do that. We get in the corner and shoot.
Right. I don't do that.
Defense? No. The dirty work?
Like,
nah.
Right. It's like asking Deion Sanders to tackle back in the day. Like, I don't do that.
He said, I'll catch the ball.
Right. I'll push you out of bounds. Like, I don't tackle.
Trip you maybe. Like tackle. You better get one of these.
Mysteriously always getting blocked downfield.
Right.
Huh?
Like, oh man, got in my way. Oh. Oh God, man.